business is your business. It's all up in my lady business with me, Mary Nisi. Welcome to today's episode of All Up in My Lady Business. The lady business we're going to be getting up into today is Jen Martensen's. Jen Martensen is a friend of mine,
Yes.
and I am going to let her give her bona fides herself because it didn't occur to me to like get a CV from you before or something like so.
That's okay.
But Jen, I will say Jen is, I've been friends with Jen since, I think, did we become friends on Sta? On
Mhm.
MILF?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
when I started, when I started having a baby, when I had a baby,
Yeah.
I ran into my friend, Myra Mazzy Nussbaum.
What?
Uh, yep, did her wedding. We were friends before I did her wedding, though. And Myra added me to this, like, cool moms listserv. And it was like a
Mhm.
legit listserv. I don't do people still do that? Um, and, it was STAA, which I came to understand meant saggy tits and ass.
There was a Mackie made it up. I think that's what it.
Mackie.
Yeah.
Mackie's amazing. So, I got
She's
added
amazing.
I got added to this listserv with all and it's like and every woman on there was amazing. And I feel like
Yes.
after you have kids, you get added to
Yes.
things, or you'll, like, go to a play group, or, like, you'll get added to this mom's group or whatever, and it's just dud city, or there's, like, 3 cool people and, like, 14 bad people,
Or
and,
it's like, "Let's just talk about organic diapers," or
oh my g
whatever, like,
or cloth diapers, the cloth
Yeah. Oh
diapering
god,
brigade,
no.
and it's like one of the things, like, from an environmental perspective, yeah, sure, but from a whatever. Anyway, I got added to this group, and everybody on there was amazing. It was like I guess it was mostly national. There might have been some international action. I don't know if anybody was, like, living out of the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
The people from all over the country that worked in, like, advertising, and because Myra is, like, a advertising
Queen.
queen. I mean, sh
Yes.
like, if she's
Goddess.
she owns the advertising agency, at least in Chicago, or advertising
Yeah.
world in Chicago.
Pretty
Um,
much.
and I just it was just the most everybody was so cool. Everybody was like, "Fuck that, fuck this." Like, it was very much a great, like, it really helped my parenting 1,000,000%, and Jen was on that list.
Yeah. I always felt like it was all about how to stay human while being a mom.
Mhm,
It was like real world, real shit, like, what gets talked about here stays here, and it really kind of built this trust amongst all of us where it was just like, okay, cool. No, this is not just about, how soon do I give my kid broccoli? It was
mhm,
all about like, what is my life like now that I have this human that I created in it, or more than one, and how do I navigate this through all the milestones? And I mean, some of the moms that were in that group were still pregnant when they joined, and now their kids are, like, going off to college. It's
mhm.
bananas.
It is bananas,
So
and also it's like, I think there are things I would only take there, like, where I
absolutely.
needed, like,
Yes.
because I knew maybe 2 or 3 people IRL, but everybody on
Yeah.
there I didn't know, so it was like,
Yeah.
I can tell these people anything, and no one's gonna judge me for asking, like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of things I would have taken there, but maybe it needs to stay on Sta. But Jen, that's where I met Jen,
Yes.
and we quickly became well, I would say once our kids got old enough and I could actually go out in the world, uh, we took it to real life. But,
We
Jen,
did.
why don't you give a little bit of background on who you are and why you're awesome?
Sure. Thanks. After a long career, like, at a stage in the music business, and then I worked for digital marketing agencies, which is how I met Myra, for longer than I should have. And then I had a brief stint with a small technology startup.
I
When I
remember
parted
that.
ways, yeah, woo! When I parted ways with that startup, so I was brought in by I was friends with one of the 2 co-founders, and I was brought in by him and his partner to basically be their director of operations, because it was the 2 of them and, like, 5 other software and Amazon Web Services environment engineers, and no process, and a variety of contracts and financial models and all that. Anyway, so I help them pass a major audit to become a particular level of AWS partner, built a project management everything, and kinda help them grow and manage the business to the point where they got acquired by a data center company, and then they promptly said, "Cool, we have, like, 6 men in khaki pants who are doing what you're doing, so," it was literally presented to me as, "How about if you stop coming to work and we just pay you for a."
For how long?
It ended up being 6 months.
Wow.
It was basically a no-show job. And
Like,
then maybe I
oh, you
shouldn't
were
say
like
that,
Tony
but,
Soprano doing a no
yeah,
bid
it was
contract?
like because we were because the co-owner was a friend of mine, and he just couldn't really bring himself to say, "We're eliminating this position because we're being acquired." And instead he was like, "What if we just do this?" And I had said to him, "What's a while?" And he was like, 6 months. And I'm like, "With health insurance?" And in hindsight, I should have said a year, but, and then after that 6-month period, we officially terminated me and I filed for unemployment and all that. But so, like, for the first time in my life, I was getting paid a pretty decent salary to not work.
So
And I
what
was like, "Okay,
what'd you do?
what do I wanna do?" So, I started spending some time at Ampersand.
That's right.
Yeah,
The
so
co-working space I used to own for those in the,
yes, which was awesome. I had started doing some of the side hustle consulting work with just some friends who had their own businesses and helping with, like, reviewing contracts, and I mentored this woman who started out as a PA in my friend's video production company and kinda mentored her into becoming their director of operations and just, processes and all the things. And I was like, "I really enjoy doing this." Um, I wanted to kinda go back to where I started in my career, which was being a business person in creative industries. And I was like, "Okay, why don't I just do that?" And I remember one day I had started going down to Ampersand just to not be at home all the
home.
time. And one day you came over and sat down and said, "So what's going on? What's your next plan? What's your move?" And I said, "I'm trying to figure that out." And I had applied to some, 87 full-time jobs, none of which I was excited about, all of which I could have completely kicked ass at. And every single time I was like, "I don't wanna do this." I don't wanna, have to commute and accrue, 0.32 vacation days every month and all that stuff. I was like, "I just want to be good at what I do and do it." And you were like, "Okay, so do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, great, cool, okay." And so, we sat down and you were such a great, like, strategic sounding board and guide to, like, help me figure out, like, what do I wanna offer and how do I structure this and how do I do this and what do I call it? And so now for it's been 7 years, which is crazy.
That is
Um,
crazy.
I have worked under, my consulting practice, which is Backline Business Consulting, and I have printed on my business card the tagline you suggested I use, which when you mentioned it, I was like, "That sounds really pushy," and you're like, "No, no, no, trust me, this is great," and you were right, which is, sometimes you just need someone to tell you what to do. And, like, I have clients now. I have one client who's a photographer, and I've worked with him for over 6 years, and whenever we meet, he always starts with, like, "Okay, tell me what to do." Like, it has become the greatest, not only conversation starter, like, if I hand someone my business card, but, like, just way to approach everything. It's like, guide me, educate
Mhm.
me, like,
Like,
help me figure out.
vulnerability is, like, baked into it.
Yes. Yes, totally, and it has turned out to be just the greatest starting point for talking to people. So I basically do operations consulting for small businesses, ideally in creative fields. Um, and the definition of creative fields has expanded over time to be basically anything that's not corporate. I work with photographer, I work with a few nonprofit organizations. Um, I've worked with writers, I've worked with event planners, I've worked with, a small engineering firm, um, you know, people in the trades like carpenters and in the design world, all of which is like, all the things they have in common are aspects of business. There's
Mhm.
money in, there's money out, there's documentation, data organization, financial management, and planning, and, hiring people and making sure they know what their job is, defining policies. There's, internal and external ways of working. And so I do all of those things. And it's so the right direction to have gone in. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I started in like August of 2018, and then I had my launch party a few weeks later at Ampersand. And um like I started when I started the business, I led my networking conversations by talking about bookkeeping. Because at the time I was like, this is it's something everybody understands that a
mhm.
business needs. It was a kind of a common it's something people understood more than just saying the word operations. And so I was like, I can do this, and also it's an essential way of operating a small business. Like if your finances and your numbers are a mess or just nowhere, you can't do anything else. Um,
Well, and I also think that sometimes when businesses just have money in the bank, they think they're
yeah,
okay. Like, as long
absolutely.
as I mean, like, I've got more
Yes.
money in there than I've ever thought I'd ever have, so therefore it must be okay. And
Yeah,
it's like, well, how
no.
much of that money goes towards taxes? How much of that
Yeah.
money goes towards payroll? How much of that
Yes.
money goes toward and unless you know that number, then you don't know how
Yes.
much money you can take out of the business as, like,
Right.
profit.
And one of the things I always say is all financial data is instantly historical. Instantly. Like, it's always as
Mm.
soon as it gets created, it's looking at the past, and that's not a bad thing, but you need to be able to look at different analytical views of that data in order to go, okay, this is over the course of a year, this is what my seasonal pattern looks like. Or these are times of the year when my industry and therefore my business are slower or way busier, or what lead times are for things, or how long an inventory item might sit on your shelf, or and those that all of those factors influence other things. Like every single part of a business has a financial impact. And your financial data also can influence everything in your business. And so if you want to make plans or set goals or set priorities, you need to be able to look at all that information in a way that tells you, okay, what have I been doing? Where are there anomalies? Or, you know, what are our trends, and how can we, if I want to increase revenue, what are the levers need to get pulled so that we can do that? Um, and, like, that's all the nerdy strategy planning stuff that I love to do. But when I started out talking about bookkeeping, like, that's a very tactical, often perceived as administrative function.
Mhm.
And it's and so it became very difficult to really be doing the level of work I wanted to be doing with clients. Like, I would start out doing their bookkeeping, and then it was like death by a thousand free questions, where it was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
hey, can I just pick your brain for a sec? Or you know about this? Can we talk about that?" And I was like, that's the consulting I wanted to be doing and be selling, and really operating more on a whole company basis. And so I kind of pivoted a little bit, and instead of selling bookkeeping as a standalone service, I said, if you need setup or cleanup or even ongoing management of this, that's fine, but it's going to be part of an overall consulting package where I help you either set up or grow or more effectively and efficiently and profitably manage your business. So that's really been a better fit for the types of things I want to do and the people that I want to work with. So,
That's a wonderful story, and I like that I play such a
you
quasi
too.
pivotal role in it. I don't think I even really realized that. I like,
Really? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to water my own flowers. Um, but I do think that, like, one of the points you made, is that, um, under the hood, every business is the same
Yeah.
in
Yep.
many ways. Like,
Yeah.
and everybody who starts a business, they start the business because 'cause they're good at the thing that they're good at. And then if it does well, all of a sudden new problems emerge that are
Yes.
awful, that have nothing to do with the business. And I
Yes.
myself, like, really judged myself for not like, I knew my limits on certain things. Like, I wasn't gonna do my own legal. I wasn't gonna do my
Yeah.
own, like,
Yeah.
accounting. There were things I knew I shouldn't be touching. Um, but when other like, stuff with employees or stuff with, the process of doing things or all those things, like,
Mhm.
it's where I would get so overwhelmed, and I judge myself so harshly for not being able to just understand that or figure it out, or like, why aren't they happy? I'm giving them this. And it's like, well, you did
Yeah.
this, Mary, and this is the reason why this, it's like you really it is owning a business is an exercise in humility.
For sure. Well, and,
Really.
like, when I work with people who are, like, like the photographer that I work with, it's like I am I love photography. I'm decent with my phone, but, like, I am not, could never be, and don't aspire to be the kind of photographer that he is, and that's totally okay. He equally doesn't aspire to be the same business person that I am, and that's where the partnership works really, really well. Um, where it's like, I am excellent at this, and I love doing it, and it can help you and benefit you, and you do this other thing, and that's awesome, and that benefits other people's lives and is a beautiful thing, but I can't do that, and you can't do what I do, but if we do them together, it's a win-win.
And I know that,
So,
like, we have talked in the past about EOS, the Entrepreneur's Operating System,
yes. Yes.
that's, something that Toast and Jam runs on EOS, and one of the main or one of they have a there's a structure to a business, and if
Mhm.
there's the visionary, which is the person that starts the company and has the ideas, and then there's the implementer. And sometimes the visionary and the implementer are the same person, which I tried to be, but I am a ideas person, and I can be it. I can execute on the things that I'm interested in and understand. And there's things that I know have to happen, and I'm like I want to do this, but my brain just stops like right here when I can't just you know. And so you need that second person to implement so that you can keep on doing the fun, cool things that brought you to the business in the first place. And you need that person to be as devoted to those things, those boring things you think are stupid or make you the
Yeah.
man or, like, those you need that person to be as brainy and cool as you are, like,
Mhm.
as the person who's starting the business. And so and I think I mean, I have seen a lot of friends who've had businesses where they just refuse to get an admin or they refuse to get anybody else because they just don't wanna pay them, and it's like,
Mhm.
"Hey, what's your dollar per hour?" Like,
Right.
are you I it's like if your dollar per hour is like, if you really look at your life and
Yeah.
how much money you're like, my hourly is $400 an hour. If you really think about, like which is actually, it might be even higher at this point. The last time I did the analysis, it was
Yeah.
$400 an hour, but if my time is worth $400 an hour, why the fuck am I trying to reconcile bank accounts?
Exactly. And and that's the perception of, like, when I started out offering bookkeeping, it was like, "Oh, anybody can do it. It's a intro, admin level role." And it's like, it's not a difficult thing to learn, but it does need to be done well. It needs to be precise. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be comprehensive. And I think there's also a misunderstanding where people are like, "Oh, I'll hire a CFO, but they're also gonna be my bookkeeper." And it's like, those are not the same level at all. They're not the same skill set. They're not the same personality. And they have a very intertwined relationship, but and vice versa. Like, if you're hiring someone to be your bookkeeper and expecting them to be a CFO, that doesn't work either. So the value of the role that someone who is reconciling and categorizing, banking transactions, it may not be a high dollar per hour role, but the value that it influences in your business is, it's very foundational.
Which means it
And
should be a higher dollar per hour, but go on.
it definitely should. But that's why I, evolved to be like, "Okay, this is a critical component of everything, but I'm building it into all the other stuff that I do." But yeah, with EOS, I'm a huge fan of it. I think the structure of it, the logic of it just makes my brain happy. Um, and it's sort of putting things within,
A 90-day cycle.
pathways. Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like things can't get too far beyond boundaries or too far out ahead of you, like, you can't get too far over your skis, and it's just, like, looking at, sort of pond ripple circles of, like, there's issues, there's, 90-day rocks, there's, the annual powwow and, like, how did we do and what are we doing next, and it's like, I think that's a really great way to break out the structure of how to manage your business because, you know, if you're doing everything in your business, you're going like this. Like, you're like, "Okay, I am the CEO and I'm the front face and I'm doing all the networking and the sales and the promotion and all this stuff." But then I'm, like you said, doing all the reconciling and the filing and the admin, and you're, like, operating on all these different levels, and, just the task switching alone is exhausting. But feeling capable and successful in all of those things is virtually impossible. So I like that it designates roles, like the description of the right people in the right seats
Mhm. Ability
is
chart.
such a great philosophy,
Mhm.
and it seems like, duh, no-brainer, but, you know,
It's really
oftentimes
easy to sorry,
no, it's okay. But,
it's
like, if I'm talking to someone, then they're like, "Oh, yeah, I hired my cousin because I needed somebody to come work for me," and it's like, if the only reason you hired that person is because 'cause they're your cousin, like, and they would agree to work for,
mhm,
whatever you're able to pay them, like, that's not really gonna it might
mm-mm.
accidentally set you up for success, but the odds are also good that it might not, so
Well, and there's also boundary issues with your cousin that you can't have
mhm.
with somebody that you're just hiring. I mean, it's like and I will say as somebody who has had the wrong butts in seats, like, it's really easy to do that, and it's really easy to keep them there because your loyalty or, you really like them or they did something right once, and so you're like, "Well, they did something right once, so, they will at some point, they're gonna do it right again." And it's like, "Oh, wait, the broken clock is only right twice a day. They're the broken clock."
Yeah.
And it's like, do you watch The Bear?
Yes.
So, like, on The Bear, it's like that is like the hiring your cousin.
Yes.
It's like the entire relationship between Richie and
Yeah. Totally.
and Bear, and it's like, Richie, like, as much as I love and hate that character, he does not belong in at
Yeah.
least I'm actually only halfway through season 3,
Mhm.
so, like, I shouldn't be
Yeah.
necessarily judging the trajectory, but, like, he shouldn't be front of house in that restaurant,
No.
and
Absolutely.
I don't know if that ever gets addressed because it drives me bananas. Because 'cause I'm like,
Yeah.
even I like, if I as somebody who you know, has codependency issues and porous boundaries that I have been working so hard in therapy to fix the last year, uh,
Yeah.
like, when you get the wrong person in there, it can really drain everything,
Mhm.
and also to go back to the EOS of it all, like, the 90-day cycle, like, when they were making up the EOS, part of the reason was they realized that when people come up with ideas and they make their plans, and they've got their goals and they've set their, how it wants to go, after 3 months, it begins to peter out,
It
and you
does.
go back to old cycle. So by having the 90-day cycle, it forces you to have to reckon with what happened.
Mhm.
Like, did you get anything done you thought last month? Oh, you didn't. Okay, so then and if your rock is too broad, like, that was my problem initially when I was doing my rocks were too broad. So a rock, for those who listen, are just, like, big things you wanna get done by the end of the quarter. So, like, we're in Q3 right now. We're almost at the end
Mhm.
of Q3. I'm not sure when this is gonna air, but we're in September of 25 right now, and, it's like one of the things I wanted to get done for this quarter was getting our Christmas card made, like, for Toast and Jam, which is and then, like, it hasn't happened yet. It is September 5th, and I'm like, "We haven't made the Christmas card yet." And even talking about Christmas cards in August sounds bananas, but
Nope.
it's like, if I don't do the Christmas card by the end of
Mhm.
September, it's gonna be a thing where I'm fucking
You're
begging
like, "Happy
someone.
Valentine's Day."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It turns into a New Year's card, which turns into a Valentine's Day card. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
and so it's like, well, maybe my rock should have been like, "Find a person who will do it," and then the rock in the beginning of November. Then that once you have that person, they can do it in, October or November, whatever. This is the kind of stuff, though, that I'm sure would you deal with a Christmas card for a company? Would that be something that you would, like, at least project manage getting off the ground?
Yeah, I could project manage it. I could be like, "Okay, here's your Christmas card plan," and,
Yeah.
gathering your
I mean,
list, and do you want it
again,
digital or print? And yeah.
low stakes. I mean, we also had a plan of, like, hiring 3 new DJs, and we've hired 2 so far. So I'm on my way to at least a more important rock is hiring more
Yeah,
DJs. So,
yeah.
and that's, so yeah, having a person like you is perfect and amazing for a business.
Well, and back to your reference to the bear, like, I was always a huge fan of Anthony Bourdain,
Mhm.
and I think the window he opened into kitchen operations and restaurant operations was a really, really good one. And again, talking about the reality of it, and a lot of times I've explained to people who are like, "What do you mean by operations?" I'm like, "It is sort of the mise en place of your business." Like in a kitchen where you have all your things, your tools, like, so that when things are chaos and literally on fire, you know where to reach, and minimal turns, minimal footsteps. Like, you can be efficient, you can get things through, you can do it accurately, you can do it well, you can deliver high quality because everything is in its place and you can just be this fluid machine and, listen to what's going on and respond, but be prepared to respond and manage things well. So, yeah, little
Well, and I
restaurant
especially feel like
analogy.
right now it's important. I mean, it's always important, but, especially for small businesses, like, I mean, right now, like, in real time, we are watching our entire economic
Yes.
engine collapse. I mean, today, not to keep dating this podcast, um, but the jobs number came out
Yeah.
today. Have you do
Really.
you follow that at all? Like the
Generally, but I haven't heard the
so
latest and greatest figures.
I don't know if I've talked about this on the pod, but I was a reporter to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics for Toast and Jam was a we reported our jobs number every month. So we were part of the number that came out initially. So they would release a jobs number at the beginning of the month saying, they took a sample of companies, what's going on with them. They can assume, they can say, look, if the people that we survey added, 180,000 jobs, we can assume it's gonna be a little bit higher because not everybody who's a reporter reports. I mean, they were on me all the time. Like, I mean, the people that were working for the BLS around this it was very they were very into it and very, like, keeping me reporting. And then, like, 2 months ago, I got a phone call from my rep, and she was like, "Hey, so Mary," and it was a message, I didn't talk to her, and she's like, "Hey, Mary, it's, Linda from the BLS, like, just let you know that this is your last month of reporting, and you will no longer have to report to the BLS, and so thanks for your service and keeping the jobs number accurate and, best of luck." And I'm like, "Oh, that sucks. I didn't know there was like a limit because 'cause I've been doing it for like 10 years."
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later was when that revision happened, to the jobs number. It revised down way more than they had thought, and then he fired the head of the BLS. And, so this is the first month that is happening since they got rid of the head of the
Okay.
they replaced it with a and this morning, John, my husband is a bond trader, which is part of the reason why I understand this number a little bit better, but he was like, they were having technical difficulties on releasing the jobs number, and he's like, I've never seen that." And I'm like
Which means
and then
they're
I
trying to decide how much to inflate it
yeah, and then I'm
and
thinking to
arguing about
myself,
it.
who are they getting the number from? Like, I don't know if they hired everybody else or if just me. I mean, maybe my time was up, but I think it's a little weird that my time of registering it wasn't and so, it was 22,000 jobs today. That is I mean, usually it's like 120,000 jobs,
Yeah.
and it's 22,000 jobs, and that's before it's been revised once the revision comes in, once they get the actual data from payroll processing companies. And
Well, and
so
that's the
it's
thing is like, is it that low because they aren't taking in the information and they're just putting out what little they have taken in?
Well, if they were gonna do that,
Or
they
is
would
that
add a 1
real?
to the front of it because I don't think that they could I mean, or it was worse than 20,000, 22,000, or it was like 13,000 and they padded it up to 23 or whatever it wound up being. But the thing is that those numbers are so much more important to the economy than anyone
Absolutely.
realizes. And, there are large corporations that make all their decisions based off of those job numbers. So if those numbers aren't accurate, then we have no idea how many customers are they losing because and the unemployment rate ticked up today too, to almost it's like
Mhm.
4.5 or 4.6%, which is getting us very close to recession levels.
Yep.
And so I don't think that corporate structure is going to exist. I feel like I'm a tin hat weirdo when I say these things, but I just I don't see how corporations can continue to exist the way they are. And so I think that when the cratering happens and when, whatever this fascism fucking nightmare that we're living through begins to filter down to white people, because quite frankly, actually rather white men, because they're the only ones who haven't lost any rights as of this point.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have another, like, small business renaissance like we had after the 2008 recession, like we had after COVID with all these people
Mhm.
that, like, because they 'cause they're losing their jobs, like, and a lot of them are losing it to AI. There's a lot of I mean, something like 30% of
Yeah.
Gen Z isn't getting hired for anything because their low-level jobs where they would learn how to be a part of the company are no longer there. And so there's never they're how are they gonna get promoted through the ranks if so we're gonna lose all of the talent that, the Gen
Mhm.
X and elder millennials that are, getting up there. We're gonna lose those people to retiring, and then there's gonna be no one at the bottom to, like, begin practice the cycle again for those people. I mean,
Mhm.
it is so anyway, people like you are very needed for those all those small businesses that are gonna come out, is where I was going with
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. But also there are entire industries where because it's become so toxic and so trepidatious, people aren't even who's gonna wanna work in government? Like, it used to be that there were so many levels and aspects of the broader government, either at a state or a national level, where it was like you could get a solid job and do your thing and be effective like a scientist, but have
Mhm.
a really accomplished and valuable career that, would pay you decently and give you good benefits, and you could just kind of, roll along and ride that career track. And it's like, who wants to do anything like that now based on, all the dumpsters they've set fire to?
Well, and, when I think about people like I remember one of the first, people hit in the thing was in the when Doge started doging, were, like, the people that do like, they do fire re remediation at
Yeah.
parks. Like,
Yeah.
they, like, set fires and then put them out because that's how you kind of
Mhm.
keep things from getting crazy, and "I am a fire person, and this is all I do, and this is the only place to do it, and now my job's gone. What am I going to do, and also, who's going to do this?"
Yeah. Like,
Th
let's talk to the people in LA, in the Palisades, what their opinion on something like that is.
And what's hard
Like,
right now, and maybe I'm gonna ask you this because I it's definitely something that I'm noticing within my group friends or, like, the people that I talk to or whatever, friends and tertiary people in my life, is, like, I've gotten to the point where I kind of feel like I have to bring up the fascism, like, every time I'm talking to someone because, like, I don't want them to know that I'm a safe person to say anything shitty to, and also, like, I feel like a lot of people have put their heads into their shells around this topic, and they just wanna
I
pretend
agree.
like it's not happening, and I didn't realize the extent to which that's happening, and so I just feel like, when everybody asks how I'm doing, I'm like, despite the fascism, I'm doing okay," or, along with the fascism, I wanna die, but I feel like we need to kinda keep bringing it up because we are in fascism,
Yes.
like, we are we're on, like, the 3rd line of the poem right now, and
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like and I it's very scary. And I forgot where I was going with this. How do you feel about the fascism? Oh, that's what I was gonna say, is that, like, basically, it's like, is that, there are things already coming for people,
Yes.
and that they don't like the COVID vaccinations. I tried to get a COVID vaccine last weekend, and they were like, "Well, we have some, but, like, we don't know if it's okay because RFK might be changing the formula, and then also we don't know if your insurance is gonna cover it, and I'm like, "Okay." They're like, "Come back next week," and I'm like, "Okay." So then I saw a
Yeah.
thing that said that pediatricians, if you want a kid under 12 to get a COVID vaccine, you have to go to the pediatrician. I called Sebastian's pediatrician, and they were like, "Yeah, like, we had some, but we had to destroy it because, uh, they said that it wasn't gonna be the right strain or whatever, and then also we might not get more, and then also your son won't qualify because there's nothing like, outstanding on him that,
Yeah.
like, doesn't have cancer or whatever, and I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah. I have an appointment on Saturday to supposedly get both my flu shot and COVID shot. We'll see. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's there are so many ways that the fuckery is directly impacting our day-to-day lives, where it's not some political scene. It's like, no, this is real, and it impacts people's finances, it impacts their careers, it impacts their families, it impacts just, you know, often I've heard it say, like, nobody can plan anything. Well, it's like, yeah, because nothing is based on any source of truth anymore.
Mhm.
And every single time I hear the phrase fake news, I just wanna punch
Ugh.
somebody. I'm like, I wanna throttle someone because it is first of all, it's an oxymoron. Second of all, like, it's just the worst attempt to pivot away from reality, and it's just such an insult to the practice of journalism.
Mhm.
Um
Well, and
And,
I've even noticed, like, within like, I'll see things that are being reported on, you know, MSNBC or CNN, kind of something
Mhm.
that's but I'll look at the or I'll see that, like, like, this the Epstein survivors,
Yes.
the press conference that happened a couple days ago, again, dating this podcast. But I went to Washington Post and New York Times, and neither of them had, I guess, above the fold, like, they weren't, like, the screen they weren't that wasn't mentioned on the screen that you see when you log in, and the news that was on there was like, "Will China deal with their irrigation problems?" Like, something that has, like, nothing to do with anything,
Of
like,
course
that
not.
and, so they're not like, and also when Trump disappeared for 5 days and everyone was like, "Is he dead?" Like, neither of those were talking about it, but I went to The Guardian was talking about it, like,
Mhm.
like and so I'm like, I don't know where to go to get news that is like, now they've actually become the mainstream media because they're owned by basically
Yeah.
Bezos and,
I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, honestly. I'm a big fan of Pod Save America.
yeah,
I listen to Rachel Maddow. Keith Olbermann makes me laugh out loud on nearly a daily basis. Like, his delivery is just like, "Oh, thank God
mhm,
you're yelling into not hopefully not into the void," but, um and he did a bunch of really amazing videos during the first Trump presidency, these resist videos that were just incredible, and he was at that point, he was one of the few people who were actually just speaking up and being like, "This is not okay," and so now he's even more irate, and it's fantastic. But I think a lot of podcasts tend to have a little bit more of an authentic voice, I think, because there
mhm.
aren't always as many layers of bureaucracy and corporate structure that they have to navigate. And it's a little more straight to the source a lot of the time. But, like, talking about the press conference the other day, like, I did not have Marjorie Taylor Greene representing womanhood on my bingo card.
And doing
Don't feel
a
great
relatively
about
good job
I know,
about it.
I was like, "Wait, I'm not okay with this, but wait."
Yeah.
And that the other 2 Republican women are Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace. I'm like, You're not in the club. Like, you are not on the same ground that
Well, you
these
wanna
women
know
are about to speak are, but
they've
okay."
all gone on record as being sexually assaulted, though. I think that's the reason why, is that they have all actually
Now
been sexually assaulted, and that's
and
why they're talking out about it.
but it took all of these survivors to spend years working with lawyers, navigating the government, trying to finally be heard. And they finally get to, like, this point of this bill being introduced and doing this press conference, and then these women are willing to speak up about being sexually harassed. It's like it just shines a bright spotlight on
Mhm.
the entire way things have always been. Um, and during the press conference when I watched it and, first Ro Khanna and I'm forgetting the other senator's name, I apologize.
Mark
Keane?
something? Mark no, not King. Mark something. He has, like, a
Yeah.
dumb, like, Protestant back name, like, that's just a word.
Yes. But, like, so first the 2 of them spoke, and then the male lawyer
Mhm.
representing all these, victims spoke, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm like, "When are we gonna actually like, this is their press conference. Can we maybe
Talk to them.
bump a few of them up in the speaking order?" Because, that's what really matters. I thought they were all fantastic. I thought the flyover
I was about to mention the flyover. As because as I was
what a
watching
small
it.
dick move, like, it is the ultimate, like, bro posturing. It's like, "I'm in the White House meeting with the president of Poland, here, like, let me make this grand gesture," and it's like,
Wait, was it a grand gesture for him, or was it to silence it was like I thought it was to make, like, noise so it would
both.
be harder to
He
'cause
was
I
he
was
was trying to, like, play with his big fancy military toys to impress the president of Poland who he was meeting with, but it was also happened to be at the same time, and so he's like, "Yeah, fly right over them and drown 'em out."
isn't there like a don't flyovers cost something like $1.3 million
Yes.
dollars to do?
Yeah, I'm
There's, like, a
pretty sure
huge
it's like
cost to doing a flyover,
I think it's
and
like $500,000 just to, like, turn the engine on.
yes. once you and if honestly, if Biden would have done that, if Biden would have scrambled a jet for a flyover for the president of Poland, do we have,
Yeah,
like, some new, like, trade agreement with Poland that's gonna, like, revolutionize our lives? He
yeah,
would get pilloried. It is
yes.
and that thing is, like, you can't like, if you look at, like, history, and we're talking going back, like, Roman, like, Marcus Aurelius, like, they were all complaining about the same shit. We keep doing the same shit over and over and over again, and it is and it's like and I don't think when people are like, "Oh, like, the global warming is bad," but I don't think we're gonna see the end of the world in our lifetime because I don't think we've got it's pretty, I think, like, asinine and a little bit egotistical to think that we could be the people that ruin the planet, but I do think it's gonna hit a tipping point where we have to stop. Like, I think
Uh-huh.
about, like, when you, like, read were you a sci-fi person?
Sorta.
Like, I've read a lot of, like, classical sci-fi, been and, like, back in the day, I haven't read actually sci-fi in quite some time, but, there'd always be, like, it was, like, set in the future, and it was, like, after the Great War of,
Mhm.
gobbledygook that does
Post-apocalyptic.
yeah, and they're like, there's no electricity, there's no and I always thought that was kinda weird because 'cause I'm like, "We already have electricity." Like, in the future, like, why wouldn't we have electricity, or why wouldn't we have, telephones or whatever? And I'm
'Cause we take it
realizing
all for granted.
yeah, and I think we don't really realize how interconnected the government is with all these things, but then also, like, how close we are to it all falling apart. Because like, the fact that Trump is undoing solar and wind, and so now we're back on coal, which is why everything's more our energy's more expensive, and the coal's not gonna be there for very long, it's ruining the environment. Like, I do think we're heading towards, like, a collapse in the ability to be this globalized.
I agree. Politically as well, financially, and extracting coal out of the earth is no simple feat, same with natural gas and oil, and it's like it's finite, like, those are resources that will run out,
Mhm.
and continuing to
Invest in
trumpet,
them.
trumpet, pardon the pun, but, like, in oil and gas and fossil fuels in general, it's like it is so short-sighted. It's like you can love it all you want and you can want what you want, but that doesn't mean that there's an endless supply of these things. And why do we keep advocating for things that are less efficient, less clean, more expensive? It's like none of it makes sense.
Mhm.
There again, it's not based in any sort of rational perspective or viewpoint. Yeah, it's the same with, the all the arguments about vaccines and things. I mean, like, hello?
Well, here's here
Like
yeah, and I think what I think is interesting is, like, we've cracked we know how to make warm places cool and cold places hot. Like, we figured out HVAC, and we figured out, like, how to make enough food to feed everybody, and we've cracked the code on, like, we 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 have enough clothing that's already made for the next 6 generations. Like, we've figured out how to make everybody be able to live and be okay, instead of being like, "Alright, cool, now we don't have to, like, you know, do a bunch of like, now we don't have to." I don't know, like, I feel like where I'm going with this is basically is that we've figured out how to do everything, and now we've just gamified getting it. When you really think about it, it's like, we've gamified, like, "We gotta make enough money to pay your electric bill and your heat bill, and you gotta make enough money to drive the car," and all of these things, and we've figured out even renewable resources. We know how to use solar and wind in a way that we don't have to extract anything out of the ground. We figured it out, and we just refuse to do it because it would mean that people don't get rich.
right. And I was just gonna say the billionaires of the world are the ones who have all the extra lives and all the super
Mhm,
strength and all the bonus points in this game where, they're like, I can kick your ass on any level just because I have all the gold coins, so I can win this game. And, people who are just a normal everyday person trying to survive and get through life, don't stand a chance.
mhm. And here's the other thing I find interesting is that, like, I've never seen a rich person that seemed happy, and it feels like
Yeah.
like, I mean, like, that kind of rich, like, and I don't know any
Mhm.
rich people like that, but when I see them, in
Yeah.
TV or whatever, it's like, they're just trying to fill a hole,
Yeah,
and it's
nothing's
like
ever enough.
if being rich was that cool, then why do they keep trying to make more? Like, you already have the money. Like, why do you need more? Like, it's a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, it's deep self-esteem issues. Like, I think you know this. I went through a phase of my personal life, shall we say, where someone a person who was then my partner came into multiple millions of dollars in his late 20s. And money does strange things to people. It brings out your demons. It makes you face things that you never thought you would face before, or on the one hand it seems like anything is possible, but then you're like, okay, but then I got to actually do it. Like when so the nutshell of the story is like when I lived in New York, so I moved to New York right after I graduated from college. And I was in a relationship with someone there for nearly 7 years. And like we lived together. I was working in music at the time, and which a lot of people were doing at the time, he started a web design shop. And a lot of people, Silicon Alley and all that. And so he started this web design shop. They got acquired, and he was one of three partners in this business. And when they got acquired, it was for about $21 million in pre-IPO stock of the company that acquired them. And so he got, roughly, let's say $6 million in this pre-IPO stock. And then they had their IPO. And on IPO day, that stock opened at $12 a share and closed at $55 a share. And he was like, okay, I'm like 28-ish years old. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm worth between 25 and $30 million. And the first thing he said to me was, I can have anything I want, and I have no idea what I want, and I need to go be single and find out. And this was after 7 years together. We
You were
had
dating the person, but when this happened.
Yes. Well, not only was I dating him, we had started an independent record label, and we had a business together. And so overnight, all of a sudden, he was like, I am bailing on this relationship. Sorry, my dog is barking. I'm bailing on this relationship. I am shutting down our label. Overnight, he absconded with the box of contracts and important documents that I had negotiated and put in place. He shut down like the space, which also housed a working studio for a friend of ours who was and still is like a recording engineer producer, and all of his gear was in there, and he just like locked it all out. He and the deal was, like, when he knew that his web design firm was gonna be sold, because that's what was happening at the time, he was like, "It's not a question of if, but when and for how much." And we had worked out this deal, of course, verbally, where he said, "Okay, I will sell this business, and I'm gonna take roughly $3 million and invest it into this independent label we had started," because we had had some initial success, and we're like, "This is a thing, we could do this," and that's really what I wanted to do. And so he's like, "I will invest roughly $3 million in this from the proceeds from the sale. You quit your full-time job," which I did, unfortunately, before the sale went through, "and I'll invest that money in this. You run the label, and I'll figure out what my next venture is, and we'll keep going." And then all of a sudden, overnight, he was like, "Nope." And so he, like, did the full, like, tech bro flip out, where it was like, bought a loft in the meatpacking district, like, bought a Hummer and took delivery of it in Reno and drove it to Burning Man. Like,
My
he
god. Oh my god.
he and, like, when he bought the Hummer, we met. He's like, We gotta meet up, I need to talk to you about something." So we met up, like, for drinks, and he, like, tosses this keychain across the table at me that has, like, the Hummer tag on it, and I'm like, "You bought me a Hummer?" And he was like, "No, I bought me one." And I was like, and
For
we
New
like
York
he
City?
I know, and he had moved out at this point, but he kept, like, coming back. Like, he would occasionally just, like, he still had a key to the apartment that we shared until I moved to my own place, and he would just walk in and be like, "Hey," and I'm like, No."
Like, we broke
So he
up, right?
tosses yeah, so he tosses the key across the table to me, and I looked at him like, "Your dick's not that small. Like, what are you doing?" Like, and he, like, put himself through Le Cordon Bleu, like, cooking school in France, and took helicopter flying lessons, and like, for
Is
his
I bet
30th
he strikes
birthday.
me as the kind of person that, like, takes, like, testosterone, like, low T, like, he takes, like, HG.
Like, so his for his 30th birthday, he and, a dozen or so of his closest friends, spent 10 days, and he rented out Richard Branson's Necker Island. And meanwhile, I moved to, like, Avenue C, in a 220 square foot apartment, and I that's why I changed direction of my career, because I had left my full-time job in the music industry because the plan was, I'm gonna run our independent label, and then overnight it was gone, and so I had to support myself in New York City. So, working as a producer/project slash project manager for, major digital agencies, I doubled my salary in one job move, and I had to. I was in survival mode, and then I ended up staying in that industry for, like, 17 years because I was always in that survival mode, because I was like, "I have to, pay rent, and I have to get good at this." And I got really good at it, but I always felt like I was working in his industry, and, like, it was never what I really wanted to do. I was like, I'm really, really good at the business operations and production coordinating and, reconciling all of the different people and schedules and budgets and legal and bringing all these things together. I kind of became like Winston Wolfe in Pulp Fiction, like the cleaner. I was like, I
Mhm,
can make all the things happen. And I always wanted to do that in music or in creative industries. And, like, advertising and marketing is creative, but it was never what I wanted to work in. Um, and so finally when I came out the other end of that phase of my career, I was like, I want to get back to what I know I'm really good at doing and sort of reclaim that opportunity to run my own business and work for myself and succeed at this. But, like, having gone through all that, like, on the one hand, I don't want that to be my story, but it was absolutely my life experience. And, I was standing there. I'm a regular person just wanting to try and succeed and live the life and have the career that I want. And all of a sudden, somebody who has more money than they know what to do with has the option to do anything they want to do in their life, and that's what they chose to do to me. And it was like, and when I went to him, when he declared that all this was crashing and burning, and I said, "Okay, well, I want the $3 million that you said you were gonna invest in the label." And he said, and I will never forget this quote, and I will never stop requoting it. He said, "What do you think you're entitled to for doing my laundry for 7 years?" Yeah. So, like, when we
he
talk.
said that out loud?
Yes. I wish we had AI note takers then. And I said, "Okay, how about we make it 4 million?" Like, we lived together, we were in a very close, most of the time, healthy relationship through our 20s. We started out like, our first date, we walked around Manhattan all night because we're so broke we couldn't afford to do anything
Mhm,
else. Like, we helped each other grow through our business, and I was never on the official payroll for his web design firm, but, like, I did a lot of HTML coding for them. I learned how to write HTML from scratch and did a lot of that, and you talk about things in your life, and I was his sounding board, and in a
mhm.
lot of ways, I was a guide for not everything, obviously, but, like, he'd be like, "Hey, this is what's going on, and let's talk about it." And we did have this label together, and, like, all of a sudden, I was like, I can't even prove that as part of the corporation.
Mhm. Well, and especially what year was this? Like, okay, so it's a yeah, so basically, it's like
1998,
it's in a time when
99?
we're not emailing the way we email now, like, nothing's
No, no,
timestamps, there's no
no.
texting, so, yeah, that
Like,
sucks.
luckily, I saved a business card from our label so I could like, "Look, it's not a legally binding
Yeah,
document, but it's like," anyway,
it worked.
so I firsthand witnessed what
Money can do.
achieving massive wealth, especially suddenly, can do to, it's like when someone wins the lottery. It's like all of a sudden you question, who am I and what am I doing with my life and what do I want to do with my life? And I think it's really easy to give into the trappings and the expectations and I if I have all these things, it'll show that I am worthwhile, and if I have all of the outwardly facing trinkets and toys and if I take all my friends to Necker Island for my 30th birthday, they'll love me. And And in the meantime, it's like, you know, I'm I'm just trying to be alive
Yeah. Yeah.
and survive and just, be able to buy groceries and pay my rent. I think a common fundamental theme through all of this is whether it is in personal relationships, in professional relationships, in careers, in entrepreneurship, wherever, I think so often the status quo is women are not listened to and they
Mhm.
are not seen and they are not valued for what they contribute. I don't want to say bring to the table because ew, but like I think it is something we all struggle with perpetually every day, whether it's like, "Oh my god, am I being a good enough mom? Am I am I running my household well? Am I handling my money to the way the people expect me to? Am I supporting my family?" I mean, I am a parent right now to a 16-year-old high schooler who's awesome, but I'm also like parenting an aging mom who has, some pretty significant health issues. And like none of that's easy, but I'm also, running my own business and managing a post-divorce healthy, partnership relationship. And my partner has his own business and his own home and his own dog and his own kids, and, like, none of that is easy. And I think part of the reason I wanted to tell the story of my ex in New York was that laundry comment, I think was just it was like the T-shirt of, this is how women who are either stay-at-home moms or silent partners in businesses that a partner runs, let's talk to Melinda French Gates. Let's talk
Mhm.
to, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife who's been giving away billions of dollars and doing amazing things. It's like these are the women I'm sure in their marriages were contributing a lot to the
They
success
n
of their
it
ex-husband's businesses
it
and
wouldn't have worked.
wealth. Yeah.
No.
And I just think that the irony of these Epstein survivors finally coming together and speaking, right outside the steps of the Capitol, and, President Little Dick does the military flyover. It's like they're literally being drowned out by, male posturing. And I
Mhm.
just I don't have advice or guidance or a recommendation of how to fix that, but I just think it tends to look and sound a little bit different as our society evolves, but it is still woven into the fabric of just how women are included or heard or not.
Yeah, and I guess I mean, I think we do need to kinda start talking about what the solution to it is because, I do feel like we're living through the best and worst times at the same time. Like, I mean, other than, like, if we just separate out the Trump administration from what's
Yeah.
happening in the world, like, I don't know if my story could have happened if our stories could have happened, like, a women owning their own businesses that are actually, like, supporting their families. Like,
Yeah.
trans people get to exist out in the world. Gay people get to be around, people I mean, as bad as it still is for people of color, like, there's still people are aware now more, like,
Yes.
Black Lives Matter, I think, was one of the most like, the best and catchiest, like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's such a
Yes.
simple, obvious thing, but you have to say it, which is fucking terrible. And so, I feel like, there are I think part of it is just saying these things out loud and people hearing it and then figuring out how they can apply it to themselves because I think that, we we're realizing more what we're contributing, and we're realizing more how we have been kept down. And it's like, the witches and all this stuff that, like, I saw, like, a meme that was like, witch burning would, increased when times of bad crops. Like, if you look back at, like, crop failures in, like, medieval times or whatever, or, like,
Yeah.
later than that,
Yeah.
but, uh, witch burnings went up. They were, like, blaming women for the crops not being good,
Yeah.
and,
Like,
like
I often reflect on periods in history like that where I try to imagine what was it like to actually live through those things where, you know, they burn someone at the stake because they're accusing them of being a witch because they put them in water and they either did or didn't flow, whatever that test was. It's like, "What?"
Well,
And
I mean, that's not why. They put him in the water for a
yes, I
reason,
know.
but
But accusing women of being witches and then burning them at the stake, like, this is not a well-functioning society, and I think some of the modern equivalencies are, trying to overturn gay marriage, trying to erase the existence and presence of trans people, and
eliminating Roe v. Wade. I mean,
yeah,
that's
hello.
the ultimate kneecapper right there.
It's all the things where it's like, that person living their life does no harm to you, so just leave them the fuck alone. And it's always, like, focusing on the distractions and the squirrel and the shiny, and it's like, if
Well,
we do that, then everything will be okay, and it's like, "No, let's focus
it's
on the things that are really at hand."
it's distracting from the fact that we don't need billionaires. It's distracting from the fact that
Right,
we don't need
right.
to be gamifying fucking living. Like, the second like, if you give birth to someone, you're just giving birth to something that is gonna cost money, and then that person has to then make money to make their lives happen. Like, how did
Yeah.
that happen? How did we get to
Well,
that
and
point? That's what we're doing.
and also, like, all of the current approaches to immigration and citizenship
Mhm.
right now.
I mean, we can
Like,
really go down a crazy road.
we will. But, like, the billionaire long game view of that approach to handling people, um, society will not continue to function and thrive, and therefore they will not be able to make more money. Like, it's not going to keep working if the democratization of our society's functionality starts falling apart.
Well, especially
Like,
if, like, all the
duh?
things they're doing are not gonna lear they're I mean, I like to think they're not gonna last long in America, but who knows? We're in a new all new ballgame. So, Jen, we've
Anyway,
really covered a lot of ground today.
yes.
And you're probably this probably not the last time. This probably won't be the last time. I'm
I
doing
hope
this whole
not.
thing where I'm bringing friends on and just talking about stuff. Like, I don't wanna be
It's
like,
great.
but I do think that you should plug yourself. So, if
Okay.
you are a small business owner that needs help with anything that has nothing to do with what you actually do,
Yes.
sometimes you just need someone to tell you what to do.
Indeed, and that someone is me.
Wait, what's the name of your
Yeah,
company? We didn't even talk about that.
Backline Backline Business Consulting. Website is backlinebusiness.com. On Instagram, and for those oldies like us who are still on Facebook, um, and LinkedIn and all that, it's at Backline Business or Backline Business. I named it because in music or in stage performance, the backline is all of the equipment that stands behind the performers and allows the performers to be on stage and do what they do and connect with their audience and not worry about how things are running literally backstage and behind the scenes. And I want to be that business wise for creative people and creative small businesses. So,
And
um,
have some hot takes on the
there we go.
world. I feel like,
Yeah, exactly.
because you understand how businesses operate, it gives you a different perspective on how the world operates. So,
I understand how businesses operate. I understand how creative people think and operate, and ways they thrive, but also things that kind of make them go, "Ugh, I don't want to deal with that at all, or I'm going to just hire somebody else to do it." But I mean, how many stories have we heard throughout the music industry of, business managers and artist managers taking advantage of people? I mean, we could talk for a month about past major label royalty structures and how unfair those things are and all of that. But, like, I wanna be the trustworthy partner, and I always part of what I love about what I do is whenever a client I work with is like, "I wanna learn about this," is the education aspect, and sometimes they're like, "I wanna learn 1%," and sometimes they're like, "I wanna learn 100%," and that's great. There's nothing wrong with any level, but I am always excited to translate things into layman's terms and explain things in day-to-day framework so that people can understand and go, "Oh, okay, that's what this means, and this is how this works and why this matters." And whenever those light bulb moments go on, and then I'm like, "And now that you know it, you still don't have to worry about it because I got it. Go do your thing." But the educational aspect is really
well,
great.
And one more thing I think that is good about having a person like you in the business is that, like, you're able to clear up something that might actually then create the space in that person's head to, like, come up with a new it's like,
Exactly.
it's like
Exactly.
you can't keep growing in your business unless you have the
Right.
space to grow it. So, well,
Exactly.
Jen, thank you so much for being on, and I need like a word to say at the end or like a tagline, but I don't. So, thanks for being on. Bye. Thanks for listening to All Up in My Lady Business with me, Mary Nisi. We'd love for you to like, review, subscribe, follow us at All Up in My Lady Business on the gram. And if you're a female identifying person and you want to dance, you can follow. I mean, everybody can follow it, but if you want to be a part of the magic at Hot Flash Dance Party, sign up for the mailing list to find out where our next party is going to be. And if you are looking for a DJ in the Chicagoland area or anywhere else, money's the same color everywhere. Fly us out. ToastandJamDJs.com has the best. And listen to my radio show. I have a radio show on Chirp Radio at chirpradio.org. That's Mondays, every Monday from 12 until 3 p.m. CST. Today's episode is produced by Shiraz Dada. Theme song composed and performed by, you guessed it, Shiraz Dada. All right, guys. Peace out.